Hello, today Chameleon Law is going to be talking to you about marijuana, weed, cannabis. It's all the same thing, and the immigration system. Here in Illinois, where I'm at, weed, which I'm going to be referring to, same thing as marijuana, became legal on January 1st, 2020. Now, there's a lot of people in a lot of states across the United States that are starting to legalize marijuana. What does that mean if you are a non citizen in your state and marijuana is legal? What does that mean? Well, you may think that you can partake in these activities because it's legal and what's the big deal, but in fact, it's actually a trap. And if you're a non citizen, you should not smoke marijuana, ingest it in any form whatsoever, because immigration law, which is actually federal law, is different than state law, which is in which your state may have a law saying that marijuana is legal, but the government doesn't view marijuana the same when it comes to immigration. So it's highly recommended that if you're a non-citizen, you don't partake in those activities. And there's a couple reasons why. One of them is you may be asked by an immigration official whether you've ever partaken in marijuana. And you need to answer that question honestly. And if you answer yes, that can bar your ability to get a green card. Or even if you're a green card holder, you may think, well, I'm a green card holder. I'm a legal permanent resident. I'm safe. I shouldn't have any issues. That's not true. When you apply for your citizenship, that can also be a bar for you getting your citizenship. There's been examples in other states where people went for the people who were green card holders, had been green card holders for years. That state had a new marijuana law. They partake and enjoyed their marijuana and partake in marijuana activities. And when it came down to the interview, the interviewer asked them, have you ever possessed marijuana? And the person was like, yes, not thinking, why would they say no? They were telling the truth, one, and it's legal. It's not illegal to do it in their state. And the officer asked them, when did you do it? And they had when was the last time you did it? And the last time had been like a year or two. And the officer denied their application. And they had to wait because, well, one, the reason they denied their application is because they said they were not of good moral character. So therefore, they were not allowed to become citizens. They were allowed to apply later, but they had to wait 5 years so that when the question came up, when's the last time, you smoked marijuana, 5 years would have passed, and they would have been at that time deemed to have a quote-unquote better moral character. So just being a permanent legal resident is not a guarantee that doesn't mean that you can partake in these activities. If you're a non-citizen, just think about it that way. If you're a citizen, yes. If you're a non-citizen, you cannot partake in these activities. You have to wait until you are a citizen. What about if you never smoked marijuana, but you live in a state that has legalized marijuana, and you take a job in, like, for example, a dispensary, and you're just selling the marijuana, but that's just your job. You don't partake in it. You're not involved in it. Well, the government has been shown cases that they look at that as trafficking marijuana. And if you go and you list on your job, because they'll ask you what it'll pat on your application, for example, for your green card and your application for, well, it would be for your application for citizenship. But they ask you, where have you worked for the past 5 years? Well, let's say you list one of these dispensaries because you're talking about your work history. So why would that be an issue? When they go and look at it and they look at your work history and they see where you worked at, they see that you worked at a marijuana dispensary, they will go ahead and say, it's been shown, and there's cases out there where they have said that the person did not qualify to get their green card or their citizenship because they were trafficking marijuana. They had to then wait the 5 years to once again It asks you within the last 5 years, where were you working, things like that. They had to wait the 5 years, make sure 5 years passed since the time they worked in those places, and then they could go ahead and apply again, and they would be more than likely to be successful. Another thing that you have to be careful nowadays is social media. So if you have, a cute shirt, hat, something that says, weed on it, has the leaf, things like that nature, right? Any pictures with you smoking a joint, anything like that, that can also be used against you when it comes down to immigration proceedings. This is just a small snippet. There's other things. For example, if you travel out the country, and you're coming back, and the officer, you're out of the country, you're non-citizen, you're at the border, and the officer stops you, asks you, how they ask you random questions, and one of them happens to be, do you smoke marijuana? When's the last time you smoked marijuana? That can also bar you from even coming back into the United States. So it's just highly recommended that if you're ever also in a situation where you need medicinal marijuana, right, which is legal, and what do you do in that situation? It's highly recommended that you seek out an attorney that can help you figure out what to do in those situations, so that if later you're a non-citizen, you need medicinal marijuana, and you're trying to seek a green card or your citizenship or any other thing that you wanted to do, that you'd be able to do it and you wouldn't be barred from it. So I hope these tips were helpful for you. Once again, I'd tell you guys to seek out an attorney if you wanted to partake in, only if you had like a medicinal, if it was a medicinal marijuana situation. If it's not, and you needed your medicinal marijuana, I would tell you to seek out an attorney to kind of figure out how to navigate that, to preserve your future immigration claims. If you're a non-citizen and you just want to partake, and your state has legalized marijuana, I'd highly recommend you not do that. Thank you.